In Tolkien's legendarium, we sometimes read about a place called the Undying Lands. It's a general name for the part of Aman inhabited by Elves and Valar. The Undying Lands are a very peaceful place, full of joy and love. But is it possible to die in the Undying Lands? Did it ever happen? If you enjoy our content, consider subscribing to the channel. Leave ideas for future videos in the comments down below. Let's start with the fact that the name the Undying Lands was given to that region by Númenóreans. As opposed to them, the Elven could live there forever, and thus not die. It poses another question. If a mortal traveled to the Undying Lands, would he be immortal? And it's not purely theoretical, because several such trips took place in Tolkien's world. The most famous journey to the west belongs to the hobbits, Frodo and Bilbo, who for their merits in the destruction of the ring were invited to the Undying Lands. However, the stay in the lands of the elves did not equal immortality. Therefore, the name itself does not come from the magical land, only from its immortal inhabitants, the elves. The whole situation is best described by the words of Man the Emissary, whom the leader of the Valar sent to the island of Númenor. This was at a time when the Númenóreans wanted to break the Valar's ban, preventing them from going west. And were you so to voyage that escaping all deceits and snares, you came indeed to Aman, the blessed realm. For it is not the land of Manwë that makes its people deathless, but the deathless that dwell there, hallowed the land. And there you would but wither and grow weary the sooner as moths in a light too strong and steadfast. I understand the Undying Lands as a place where life goes at a completely different pace, without worries, without haste or fear. Living in such an idyllic environment, even though it's sometimes tempting, becomes empty and boring in the long run. Returning to the example of Frodo, a trip to the Undying Lands was for him a way to experience peace before death. Under the care of gifted elves, the pain he still felt from the blade of Morgul was relieved, and the stigma of the One Ring could ease, giving rest to thoughts. According to the words of the same emissary, immortality is neither a gift nor a punishment. It means more or less that the elves are bound to this world until the end of its existence, while the mortal beings are actually free. The fear of death itself is caused by Morgoth, whose great shadow overwhelmed human lives, turning the gift into a burden. For people believed later that they were surrounded by eternal darkness, and after death, nothing awaited them. And that is obviously a false claim in Tolkien's stories. So, has someone died in the Undying Lands? Well, yes. The first victim was killed by Morgoth himself, shortly after the Dark Lord stole the Silmarils. That caused Fëanor to rebel against the Valar and chase Morgoth to Beleriand. During the exile of the Noldor, many elves died, mostly at the first kinslaying in Alqualondë, when Fëanor attacked Teleri to capture their boats.